You must have eaten lots of cakes in your lifetime. But did you know that some factories can produce thousands of cakes in 1 hour? Keep watching this video to find out how this amazing cake making process is made so simple. What goes into a cake? Before we talk about the machines and magic of cake making, let's break down what actually goes into a cake. You've probably seen recipes made up of flour, sugar, eggs, butter, or oil, and baking powder. Pretty basic, right? But here's the twist. In factories, these aren't the small ingredients you grab from your kitchen cabinet. Nope, factories deal with ingredients on a much, much bigger scale. Imagine bags of flour taller than you, sugar bins the size of a hot tub, and liquid egg tanks so massive you'd need a ladder just to peek inside. These ingredients arrive at the factory in bulk, and when I say bulk, I mean bulk. Factories have special storage systems to keep these ingredients fresh and ready to use. Flour and sugar are stored in silos, which are like super-sized containers that can hold thousands of pounds. Liquid ingredients, like eggs and milk, are stored in huge refrigerated tanks to keep them from spoiling. Everything is set up to make sure there's always enough supply to keep the factory running smoothly. Now, you might think all this is just thrown together into the mixing bowl, but here's where factories get fancy. They use state-of-the-art measuring systems to make sure every single ingredient is added in the exact right amount. These machines weigh and measure down to the gram, because even a tiny mistake can throw off the entire recipe. If there's too much flour, the cake might turn out dense and dry. Too much sugar? It might collapse. And it doesn't stop at the basics. Factories plan everything in advance to create all kinds of cakes. Want a chocolate cake? In goes the cocoa powder. Vanilla cake? Add in the vanilla extract. Birthday cakes? Sprinkle in some colorful bits to make it fun. The beauty of factory baking is that no matter what flavor or type of cake you choose, the process is designed to ensure every cake tastes exactly the same every single time. How the batter comes to life. Mixing cake batter at home can feel like a workout, right? You stand there stirring and stirring until your arm feels like it's about to fall off. Well, in a cake factory, mixing is a completely different ballgame. Factories have industrial mixers that can make enough batter to make hundreds, sometimes even thousands of cakes at the same time. Imagine a machine so big you could probably park a car in it and still have room left over. Here's how it works. The ingredients are added to the mixer in a specific order. The dry stuff like flour and sugar goes in first. Then come in the wet ingredients like eggs, butter, and milk. But instead of someone standing there cracking eggs one by one or scooping flour, the factory uses machines to do it all. These machines pour and measure the ingredients with incredible precision, making sure every batch starts off perfectly. Once everything is inside, the mixer starts spinning, and let me tell you, it's fast. These machines can mix batter so quickly and efficiently that what takes you 10 minutes at home is done in a couple of minutes in a factory. But it's not just about speed. Factories also have systems to control the temperature during mixing. If the batter gets too warm, the butter could melt too much, which would mess up the texture. If it's too cold, the ingredients might not combine properly. Factories take their mixing very seriously because this is where the magic starts. The goal is to create a smooth, consistent batter with no lumps or air pockets. Once the batter is mixed to perfection, it's ready to move on to the next exciting stage of the process. Turning batter into cake. This is where the real transformation happens. Once the batter is ready, it's time to turn it into actual cakes. At home, you'd probably pour the batter into a single pan and pop it in the oven, right? Factories, however, take it up several notches. Instead of one cake at a time, factories can bake hundreds of cakes at once. The batter is poured into pans or molds, but here's the cool part. No one is standing there with a ladle pouring batter one pan at a time. Factories have machines that can fill dozens, sometimes even hundreds of pans all at once. These machines are incredibly precise. They know exactly how much batter to pour into each pan so that every cake comes out the same size. No more uneven cakes like the ones you might end up with at home. Now for the ovens. Factory ovens aren't the kind you'll find in your kitchen. They're massive, with conveyor belts inside that move the cakes through the baking process. Imagine a giant tunnel where cakes ride along like cars on the highway. The ovens use something called hot air circulation to make sure the heat is evenly spread out. This way, every part of the cake bakes at the same speed. The baking process is timed perfectly to ensure the cakes are baked just right. They come out golden, fluffy, and smell absolutely delicious. But the process doesn't stop there. The cakes still need to cool down before they're ready for the next step, and trust me, this is just as important as the baking itself. Letting the cakes cool off. Once the cakes are baked to perfection, they're still too hot to handle. If you tried to frost a hot cake, the icing would melt and slide right off. Not a good look, right? That's why factories have a special process to cool the cakes down before moving on to decorating. This happens in something called a cooling tunnel. It's like a long refrigerated pathway where the cakes travel on conveyor belts. As they move through, cool air gently surrounds them, bringing down their temperature. It's kind of like giving the cakes a nice, relaxing chill session after their time in the oven. Cooling isn't just about making sure the icing stays in place, it also helps the cake set properly. When cakes are fresh out of the oven, they're soft and delicate. If you try to move them around too much, they could break or lose their shape. By letting them cool gradually, factories make sure the cakes are firm enough to handle the next steps. The cooling process is carefully timed to make sure the cakes are just the right temperature when they come out. If they cool too quickly, they might dry out. If they don't cool enough, they could still be too warm to decorate. This attention to detail is what keeps factory cakes consistent and delicious. Once the cakes are cooled and ready to go, they're off to the decorating station, where the real fun begins. Decorating like a pro. Here's where the magic really happens. Decorating cakes in a factory is like watching an artist at work, but instead of a paintbrush, they use machines. First comes the frosting. Factories use machines that can spread a perfect layer of icing on every cake in seconds. Some machines even have spinning platforms that rotate the cakes while the icing is applied. After the base layer of frosting, the cakes are decorated. If it's a simple design, like a swirl or a sprinkle of sugar, the machines handle it. But for more detailed decorations, like writing "Happy Birthday" or adding flowers, some factories still use humans. These workers are trained to decorate cakes quickly and beautifully. It's like watching a master chef work their magic. Some cakes also get extra toppings like chocolate chips, fruits, or nuts. And if it's a layered cake, the machines stack the layers together with frosting in between. Everything is done so quickly and perfectly that it almost feels like watching a baking show on fast forward. Packaging to perfection. Once the cakes are beautifully decorated, they head straight to the packaging stage. And believe me, this part is just as important as baking. The main goal is to keep the cakes looking perfect while ensuring they stay fresh for as long as possible. Now, this sounds simple, but it's actually quite tricky. Cakes are delicate and can easily get squished or ruined if not handled properly. That's why factories rely on special machines that carefully pick up each cake and gently place it into its box. These machines are designed to be extra precise and soft in their movements. Once the cakes are snug in their boxes, the next step is sealing. This isn't just about slapping on a lid and calling it a day. The sealing process has to lock in the freshness while also protecting the cake from dust, air, and moisture. Some boxes even have a clear window so you can admire the cake without opening it. But there's more to packaging than just protection. The machines also label the boxes with key details like flavor, expiration date, and a full list of ingredients. These labels aren't just for show, they're a legal requirement and help customers make informed choices. By the end of this stage, the cakes are ready to hit the shelves or your doorstep, still as perfect as when they left the oven. Making sure every cake is perfect. Just when you think the cakes are all set to leave the factory, they go through one final step, and that's quality control. This step might not sound exciting, but it's super important. After all, nobody wants to buy a cake with a crack in it or missing decorations. Factories have a dedicated team of workers whose job is to carefully inspect every single cake. They look for things like uneven frosting, overcooked edges, or any decorations that might be out of place. If a cake doesn't meet the factory's high standards, it gets taken off the line. But quality control isn't just about appearances. Factories also run tests to make sure the cakes taste as good as they look. This involves checking the texture, the flavor, and even the moisture level to ensure that every bite is soft and delicious. These tests are usually done in a special lab within the factory. In some cases, cakes are even sliced open to make sure the inside is just as perfect as the outside. This extra level of care and attention is what guarantees that every cake you buy is fresh, tasty, and up to the mark. Simply put, no cake leaves the factory without getting the stamp of approval. The future of cake factories. As technology gets better, cake factories are becoming even more advanced. Some factories are starting to use robots to handle more of the decorating. Others are finding ways to make cakes healthier by using less sugar or adding more natural ingredients. There's even talk of 3D printing cakes, where machines can create cakes in all kinds of crazy shapes and designs. Who knows, maybe one day you'll be able to order a cake in the shape of your favorite cartoon character and have it made in minutes. In the end, cake factories are proof that baking isn't just an art, it's also a science and a little bit of magic. So the next time you enjoy a slice of cake, take a moment to think about all the work that went into making it. From the ingredients to the machines to the people who run them, it's a team effort to bring you that perfect bite. And isn't that pretty sweet? So now that you know how cakes are made in a factory, which of the production processes intrigues you the most? Head to the comments and tell us. And if you'd like to learn more about how things are made from start to finish, subscribe to our channel and be amazed.